After 10,000 hours of locking yourself in your room, watching anime non-stop like it is going to be prohibited in less than a week.
I watch it all day, every day.
You've made it. You finally saved a lot of money in order to move into the best country to have ever been shaped by God itself, Japan. Or so you think it is, because it's the only Asian country you can name. And since Valentine's was a couple days ago, I'm glad to inform you that you have also found your long-awaited Japanese girlfriend. For many people like you, what was just a dream is now a reality. You will need a video like this one to comprehend the greatness that awaits you, especially now that you have a brand new Japanese perfect girl that will fulfill even your darkest of fantasies. Let's see how perfect those girls really are. And even if you're not into Japanese girls, I promise this will be a very interesting lesson. Don't worry, we will get to the really sexy ladies and all that intimate stuff. But first, I have some good old numbers. Ipsos, the global research firm, surveyed 31 countries in late 2023 and asked people a simple question. Are you satisfied with your romantic and sex life? Japan came in dead last with only 37%. The global average was around 60%. The same survey asked about feeling loved. Japan came in last again, 51%. That's a coin flip on whether you feel loved at all. Passport bros think Japan is a dating paradise. Somebody forgot to tell the people who actually live there. The myth goes something like this. Japanese girlfriend equals submissive plus affectionate plus zero drama. She'll pack your lunch in a bento box with a handwritten note and little octopus-shaped hot dogs. She'll never raise her voice. She'll be so grateful you chose her that she will basically run your entire emotional life while asking for nothing in return except the privilege of doing it. Oh, and don't forget that part. When it's bedtime, they sound something like this. If this sounds less like a relationship and more like a fantasy designed by someone who's never successfully maintained one, that's because it is. But I know you clicked into this video because you wanted to know what would your life as a Japanese husband look like, right? Then I'ma give you your Japanese wife in the form of a reality smack in the face. First of all, Japanese wives are kind of submissive and yielding. That ain't a lie. Gotta admit. Of course, this doesn't apply to all of them, but you get the point. There is something you must give in return, like everything in life. Well, in this case, it's money. And I know what you're thinking. That's fixed by simply getting an actual cute Japanese girl that isn't a gold digger. Duh. Well, let me introduce you to the concept of okozukai, whose direct translation simply refers to assigning funds to someone, but it also represents an important concept of most Japanese relationships. Wife manages all. Most Japanese husbands agree to make their wives the person who manages each single property and penny they earn. This is cultural, and you will for sure be expected to do it. To Western eyes, this feels almost like a deal with the devil, in which you do the heavy work and still have to put even that old slow laptop you used to pirate anime online under her name. But this is fairly common in Japan, part of it being the idea of accommodating a wife, and also making sure she knows she's trusted with everything he makes. And of course, a relationship comes with obligations. You will want to make your wife happy. So she keeps being submissive and yielding, as you wished in the first place. And a happy Japanese wife will want her husband to be working, even when he's not working. And I'm not even saying that she will be hoping that you work even if you catch a flu, but she will straight up feel like she married a lazy loser if he doesn't spend 12 hours daily, which to be fair will also be the case of your boss. And there is one more. Of course, the perfect wife will want you to be perfect as well, because if you don't meet with whoever their expectatives about you are, like knowing several languages, letting her manage everything you accomplish in life, or in case you had kids, to be willing to pay the best and most expensive education possible, then I'm ashamed to tell you, you will have to face a divorce, as nearly 70% of international Japanese marriages face. This isn't because they're just reckless and they want you to suffer. This is a mere symptom of the whole not that perfect Japanese society, where sleeping is demonized and working until exhaustion is glorified. I've already made other videos about it, and if you're an old subscriber, you might know by this point that Asian cultures are really demanding. However, if you're not subscribed yet, you're really missing out. Oh, and yes, you might think, but I don't want a Japanese wife, just a Japanese girlfriend. I'm sorry to say that just by having that mentality, you are very unlikely to succeed. You must be committed or nothing. Don't ever underestimate that girl power to read minds. So, after I told you that Japanese wives are more similar to a yokai than a perfect fantasy, then where did all that perfection you've heard come from? The Japan fantasy is part of a pattern that predates dating apps by about a century. The stereotypes about Asian women go deep. Time traced the submissive Asian woman trope back to Western pop culture staples like Madame Butterfly, the 1904 opera about a Japanese woman who dedicates her life to an American naval officer and then kills herself when he abandons her. A lot of people think it's a love story from Japan. In reality, it is actually about Japan, written by an Italian composer and based on a short story by an American author based on a French novel. In short, at no point was anyone Japanese Japanese consulted about whether any of this reflected reality. But the archetype stuck. The lotus flower, as cultural critics call it, positions Asian women as soft, available, exotic, and fundamentally built to serve Western men. So when Western guys show up in Japan expecting this archetype and run into actual Japanese women with their own complex lives and completely valid reasons for not being interested, you don't get a cultural exchange. Now, they are the reason why there is a collision between a century-old fantasy and a person who was never informed she was supposed to be auditioning for a role in someone else's imagination. But if the women don't want this, why can't they just say no? Listen to Western guys dating in Japan, and you will realize they never complain that their Japanese girlfriends are mean to them.
Do it.
Usually they rant about how she seemed interested, and then she disappeared. Japanese women are apparently fluent in ghosting and mixed signals that turn out to be no signals at all. The instinct is to blame the women. She was fake and just playing games. She was cold underneath the politeness. But that interpretation requires ignoring how Japanese communication actually works. And Japanese communication does not work like American communication at all. It's like a constant game of emotional chess, where half the moves are invisible. The rules were never explained to you, and you're expected to anticipate your opponent's preferences without them saying anything out loud. Good luck. There's a concept called kuki wo yomu, which translates roughly to reading the air. It means understanding what someone wants or feels without them saying it directly. In Japan, this is the bare minimum for functioning in society. People who can't do it get labeled KY, which stands for kuki yomenai, or can't read the air. If you get called KY, that means you are subject to social punishment, and it's the kind of thing that follows you around professionally and personally for years. To them, you're the guy who causes problems by being oblivious. Now imagine you're a Western dude who grew up in a culture where saying exactly what you mean is considered honest and direct, maybe even virtuous. You've been trained your whole life to ask for what you want. Clarity is kindness. When something's wrong, you say it's wrong. You land in Japan and start dating someone who communicates the exact opposite way. When she's not interested, she doesn't say, "I'm not interested." To her, she should be polite enough to say, "Thank you so much, let's definitely meet again sometime," and then never respond to your messages. That actually means that she's giving you the chance to read the air and move on quietly without either of you losing face. It is called being considerate, like she is doing you a favor by not making it awkward. To you, this looks like lying, followed by ghosting. You feel deceived, maybe even betrayed. You asked a direct question and got what felt like a direct answer, and now you're confused about why she won't text back. The ugly truth is, she's not confused at all. From her perspective, she was extremely clear, but even if you mastered all of this, even if you could read the air like you were born doing it, you'd still be walking into a system that's broken for basically everybody. So what about the Japanese men? They must be very lucky. Not really though. Japan's cabinet office reported that around 40% of single men in their 20s have never dated anyone, and that number doesn't improve much with age. By their early 30s, roughly 1 in 10 Japanese adults have never had sex at all. So Japanese men who grew up in the culture speak the language fluently and understand every unwritten social rule, still struggle to form relationships. But sure, you, a guy who learned the word kawaii from YouTube, you're gonna speedrun romance in a country where the locals can't figure it out either. But when Japanese people get a partner, it still doesn't solve everything. The Japan Family Planning Association reported that 48.3% of married couples are in what they call sexless relationships, almost half of married couples. Let that sit for a second. All because people don't have energy for their relationships after work anymore, and it gets better. The Tokyo metropolitan government built an official dating app. Ultimately, none of this is the fault of Japanese women. They didn't write the fantasy. They just have to live next to it, while foreign guys who think watching anime counts as research show up expecting them to play a role nobody asked them to audition for. Finally, I want to get out of my role for a second and be really honest with you. Even if you made it and managed to get a Japanese girl, even if she filled that fantasy and turned out to be a sweet, submissive girl that is ready to make you happy at any cost, don't you think you're being a bit egoistic? Listen, I'm not here to say you're wrong and stupid, but if a girl was that perfect to you, don't you think she would deserve way more than just being treated like a toy? Because whether you like it or not, that fantasy pretty much described them as a toy, not a human being. For which your lesson for today on how to get a nice girl will be commit to get to know her. Don't get obsessed with what you think you know about her, and you will get a way higher chance of actually connecting.